Hello everyone, Cass here. Welcome to our channel. In this video we are driving out of Cody, Wyoming again. However, we are going to the Yellowstone National Park to the northeast park entrance gate and explore the upper loop of the park. If you've seen our other video of the lower loop, in that one we used the east entrance, and I will put a link of that video in this video's description to help you find that one if you're interested and if you missed the lower loop one. I will also post throughout the video in the upper right corner a map section of the park with a description showing you exactly where we are. So here we have such a section. We are on Highway 120 out of Cody, that eventually then will turn off onto 296 and make a stop at the Indian Summit.
Driving's more important than pictures, Heinz.
If you're taking that way out of Cody towards the northeast entrance, it's rather curvy, has some steep inclines and declines. I do believe around 7% or so. Here you see one coming up, and pretty soon we're going to make a stop here. Here we are going to pull out. We are at the Dead Indian Summit Overlook, and this is actually quite high, about 8,000 feet, or if you're metric it's 2,440 meters, so it's quite a bit above sea level. Check out this valley here. You're close to the Montana border in Wyoming, so let's have an overview. The stop we are making here, just to make sure we are all on the same page, we are not in the Yellowstone Park yet. We are still on the way to the park towards the northeast entrance, but the scenery is just absolutely stunning. And again, as I said, we made a stop here at the Dead Indian Summit, I believe that's what it's called, and admire the scenery. Now here we have the same view again, but this time I zoomed in to bring these mountains a little bit closer to you.
Roads down there, right?
If you're interested in some of the history, you can just pause and read up on this. Have a look down into the valley, and here you see the roads we are gonna travel just a little bit from now, all the way down, and then on the other side uphill again. If you're from a place that's relatively flat and straight, these roads may be slightly a bit of a challenge. Just want to point out, check how flat this mountain is. It's like a tabletop. But as I was saying, if you're from a flat place and not used to mountain driving and curvy road, well, just make sure you take a little bit of extra time and familiarize yourself with these roads.
Quite a difference just from
so we left the summit, we're going downhill. It's about 7% decline again, and then eventually we slowly climb up again and getting closer to the park entrance, but I would say it's still about 45 minutes from this point at the road. For those of you that are interested how this region formed, these mountains formed, there was a little bit of information right there. And here we are at the Sunlight Bridge, pointed out on the map a bit. You see where we came from, that Indian Hill. And we are checking out this area with a couple pictures here. Yeah, and important, don't invite bears for your dinner guests. I hope you're not afraid of heights. The bridge is actually quite high, looking down into this canyon. And further on we go. Now we are on Highway 212 that will get you also back into Montana for a little bit before we go back into Wyoming again. And we have a mountain up front here. Just gonna let you know what that is. I believe it's the Pilot Peak, and I'll have a little arrow where it's on the map and which one it is. What do you think? Isn't this an absolute beautiful drive with stunning scenery? Maybe leave us a comment, subscribe, like, share, and stay tuned to our channel. Now we are arriving in Cook City. Now by city I use that loosely. It's actually a smaller town, and at this point we are back in Montana. So Cook City is in Montana. Just a small town. We'll just drive through here and mosey on towards the park gate.
Of a mile, your destination is on your left.
This is Cook.
Now as we drive through this town, give you a little bit other information. From Cody to the northeast entrance of the park, it's about an hour and 45 minutes. 81 miles I believe, or about 130 kilometers depending on traffic. Going that way is about 45 minutes or 30 miles longer than if you go the east entrance out of Cody. So this is certainly a little bit longer, but I can also highly recommend driving this way as well, as you get a complete different view, different scenery than going towards the east entrance.
Nice.
I wouldn't say one is nicer than the other. I would say they are just different, equally nice.
The one that passes, right? Visitor center.
Now keep in mind, when I mention driving times, that's of course doesn't take into account traffic, wildlife, all your stops. So that would just be straight driving.
You can see that.
Range right there. Elevation 736.
Now here we are,
A bit lower. The pass was
northeast
8,000 feet.
entrance. It's still an elevation of 7,300 feet,
Much line up here.
and
This way.
we are going into the
I think
gate here, lining up. Our pass from 2 days ago is still valid. I do believe it's good for a week. And we already come across the first pedestrian, thankfully moved off to the side. But as I said, if you go early morning, which we recommend, then you don't have the long lineups if you're early enough than when you're a bit later in the day. One of the first wildlife we come across here on the upper loop are bison herds. It's a valley. You can see there's a river going through, and it's nice, lush and green. And all these little brown dots you see, these are all bisons. And we are currently traveling west in the upper loop. We just stopped here and zoomed in a bit to show you how many animals are grazing out here.
Patience, yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
So as we are driving westwards
It's a big
in the
concrete
upper
road.
loop, we are making our way to the petrified tree. Here we have a map section showing you exactly where you can find that. And when I say tree, it's just a stump, and it's not wood anymore, it's petrified, it turned to rock. Now my understanding is this area used to be subtropical, couple nice flowers here, and then when things changed a bit, there were volcanoes erupting, and the ash and everything buried this, and that's the remnant from many probably millions of years ago. In the meantime, we arrived at the Mammoth Hot Springs, and by golly was this place busy.
Oh yeah. So we want to go
I can
back.
certainly recommend this. I think you should see this place, but you need a little bit of patience. We finally found some parking, went a bit outside and up the hill because we want to check this one out. Looks like we are on a different plan, and in the meantime we're gonna go on the boardwalks here. So down there you see where we came from, and gonna go on these boardwalks. As I mentioned in the other video already, you must stay on these boardwalks. Don't lose your items. If something blows off, your hat or whatever, you cannot go and retrieve it. So please hang on to your belongings and stay on the walkways. Some of these views here like this one here, it's just absolutely fantastic. At least I think so. And every time you think you've just seen it all, you turn the corner and you have more amazing views to check out. If you've ever been to this park, please feel free to share your experiences and your thoughts when you've seen this place. Much appreciated.
And what do you think?
Just a quick reminder, like, share, comment and subscribe. And it was, by the way, a very hot day. So make sure you have plenty of water with you in a backpack or so when you go out and explore the area. Nice views, aren't they? Now here you see a bit of the ground and how crumbly, for a lack of a better term, it can be. So hence the need again to stay on the secure walkways.
Hottest day, of course.
If you are traveling the upper loop, I think you should really try to stop here because it is absolutely amazing. Now here we had a bit of a sad moment. We wanted an ice cream but couldn't find any parking. So we decided we'll just move on to the next destination. And if you're wondering where we are traveling south, as you see up there, towards our next destination. We are arriving at the Obsidian Cliffs, and in the days gone by, the native population used these stones to make spear arrows, bow arrows and so forth. So we are just checking this out real quick. Here we already moved on. You hear that sound? Boiling away. Our next stop is the Norris Geyser Basin. Again, you see it on the map there. If you want to retrace our footsteps, it's a very big area actually. As you can see here, a bit of an overview. We're gonna walk on these boardwalks in just a little bit. And again, I can highly recommend to stop at this location as well. Now again, as for driving time, the upper loop takes about 2 hours, so it's about an hour shorter than the lower one. But again, that's just straight driving, no stopping, no traffic, no animals crossing and so forth, but just so have a little bit of an idea. Look at this scenery, it's steaming and bubbling away everywhere. I guess nothing like standing in the caldera of a gigantic volcano. What could go wrong with that, huh? Wherever you look, you can see some steam risings. You can hear some mud bubbling or water cooking and boiling away. There's a lot of activity going on in this basin. Little bit of information if you're interested. Look at this stunning picture here. Now while we are admiring the beauty of the land, I mentioned a little while ago it takes 2 hours the upper loop, but here's a bit more realistic of a time frame. Out of Cody, it took us to travel the upper loop about 16 hours, a 16-hour day, and that's pretty much the same as it was for the lower loop as well. Both times we left Cody very early in the morning and arrived back in town again late that evening, but with the long summer days, daylight was not an issue, so we had plenty of time to travel and see all kinds of things. As a reminder again, you also need a park pass, and you get a pass that's valid for a few days so you can return and explore the next day. Here we have some more information if that interests you. About the next 35 seconds, it's all in nice order. If you want to pause the video and read up on these slides and get information about this area. Now, while we go through this, you can also opt to stay in the park overnight, but as I mentioned in the last video with the lower loop, hotel reservations need to be made about 12 to 14 months in advance. And yes, you heard me right, I said 12 to 14 months in advance if you plan to stay in the park, that is. We chose to go out of Cody because we wanted to check out Cody anyways and spend some time in that area as well. Well, for us it's time to move on again, and we got sidetracked with a few bisons on the side of the road. Again, use your camera, zoom in, don't go too close because they can outrun you any day. Now at this point in our travel we made a decision that we're gonna head down to the lower loop, down to the Midway Geyser Basin, because we couldn't get in there when we did the lower loop because it was just way too busy. So we decided to go down there as we've seen most of the upper loop by now, and it's also a bit closer than to get back to Cody than go all the way up again to the northeast entrance. So we are down at the Excelsior Geyser, which is also the Midway Basin, I believe it's called. And check this out, because as I said, we unfortunately, well, I would say missed, that's not the right word, we just couldn't find parking, and instead of waiting for a long time we decided to move on, and then hopefully we can catch it when we do the northern or the upper loop.
Ready?
So here we are, and quite frankly I'm glad we stopped in here because it just looks absolutely fantastic. Look at the colors. I have a bit bigger or better picture here. I'm going to turn a bit and zoom in a bit, but it just looks absolutely wonderful. Look at this here with the, it's not fog, it's actually steam rising from the heat of the water. Here we have the Grand Prismatic Spring. Isn't that colorful? Now, while we admire this beauty, I think going from Cody to the northeast entrance, if you have the time, is definitely worth the trip as well, as you see other scenery than going just to the east entrance. We spent in total about 32 hours combined driving to the park and doing both loops, and yes, we could have spent more time, as there is always more to explore. With this upper loop journey slowly coming to an end as well, what we've shown you in this video and the previous one with the lower loops are kind of the highlights, give you a little bit of an idea how to travel, where to stop. Hopefully you find this helpful and enjoyed the scenery. Maybe if you ever get a chance to go here, this comes in helpful. Perhaps you have already been here. So with that all being said, we'll check somebody out enjoying the last ray of the suns. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.